Welcome everyone to episode 6 of the local experience. Today, it is going to be a Genesys event. So it's currently Friday, so I'm doing the pre-record. This is the pre-setup of everything. And then tomorrow is the locals for the Genesys event. And then once I get back to that, I'll give you the breakdown review. Now again, I put a poll out to kind of see what you guys would like to see. And the one that won it was magnets, which is absolutely fine because I was looking forward to playing the magnets as well. So what I'm going to do in this video, as I have recently built a modern deck for magnets, I'm going to show you how you turn your modern deck into a Genesys deck. So what I mean by that is when you're looking at kind of like turning a modern to a Genesys, you kind of see, oh, okay, well maybe it's not going to be an exact point transaction. So for example, if I was to turn my exact magnet version into a Genesys, straight away I need to cut out all the links, but then I also need to take into account how many points certain cards are going to cost. So what we'll do prior to this, or what is the best way to do it, is to go through the deck first. Find everything that costs points and everything that doesn't cost points. So using Neuron to the side over here, and I tend to put it up on my laptop so that I can see exactly what I need to. In the original builds, we have Super Polymerization, 13 points apiece. We have Ash Blossoms, we have Dominus Purges, we have Fuel Losses. All of those are going to be points. So what I advise you to do is break the deck down to basics. So what is 0 points? So when I'm looking at the lists, Sigma Pluses, Omega Pluses, like basically all of the magnet cards, I'm just having a double check now, all of the magnet cards, even the Duo Trions, are 0 points, right? The only one that is currently points is Quackimiru Guardian. I'll talk about that in a second, and that's 3 points apiece. So Magnet Body, 0 points, 0 points, 0, 0, 0, 0. Can't use Imperm, 0, 0, 0. Oh, wrong one, 0. That one, 0. 3 points, 0, 0, 0, 0. Points, 0. Okay? So now what I've done is I've broken the main deck down, okay? So the main deck has now been broken down. These are all 0 points. And I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22, and then obviously the Quackimiru Guardians at 3 points apiece. Now, when you look at the extra deck, one of the biggest things, obviously, can't play Baguska. It's quite a hefty point cost. Gallant Granite is at 33 points, and that's something you need to consider, and I'll talk you through that when we get to it. 0 points, can't play Cross Sheep. Garura, you're still going to use this as an Ultimate Slayer target if you want to, so that can stay in, and that's 0 points. Mud Dragon, if you choose to play Super Polymerization, you keep it in. If you don't, you get rid of it. Can't play SP, can't play Gorgon, can't play IP. Can play Flux, Nat Beast, 50 points. Very, very costly. Daguerre's also control some points, so whether you want to use that or not is up to you. That's 0 points, and then the next on that is 0 points. Plus you've got your Imperiums, you've got your Berserkions and your Valkyrians, all 0 points as well. So once I put that together, I'm like, right, okay, so this is what I've got to work with. I've not spent any points yet, so I've got 100 points to spend. How do I do it? So now this is when you start to do your research, try to find you other rock monsters, other earth monsters that can really help you out. So when doing that, if you start off by Maze and Wurtos, which is where most of this has been reprinted, you'll find out that the Adamant Serpator Researcher and Analyzer are 0 points. Another big thing that you'll realise is because there is no Forbidden and Limited list in Genesys, just points, you'll also find that Block Dragon can be played. But quite like Gallant Granite, it demands 33 points, which can be quite costly, but the whole idea of being able to play this deck would be to utilise and abuse Block Dragon. Now, in Modern, you would just get Block Dragon off the field by turning it into Link fodder. Whereas now, you kind of need to use it as either Synchro fodder, you can't really use it as Xyz fodder, but the other card that we've now got, thanks to Maze and Wurtos, is Omega. So Omega Plus can be your little hidden gem that tributes off or destroys your Block Dragon, gets it to the graveyard, and then puts your Magnet Omega Plus on the field. So Block Dragon at 33 points is definitely worth it. Other cards to consider, just to give you a bit of a highlight of the research I've already done. You can put Alpha the Electromagnetic Warrior into the deck, which is exactly what I'm going to do. You've then got your Adamant Serpator Crystal Dragite, which the idea is if you excavate it off of either of your Adamant Serpators, you get a draw 1. And then to replace the 3 points that the Quackimiru Guardian is currently taking up, you can consider the Quackimiru Supplier, which is 0 points. So the supplier is face-up rock monster you control, it's sent to the graveyard, except during damage state you get to special on this card from the hand. If it is special summoned, you get to add from your deck to the hand an Iron Core of Kokimiru, or a card that mentions the Iron Core of Kokimiru from the deck to the hand. So that will give you direct access to your Kokimiru Guardian. Another card that I kind of looked at a bit of research, is the Hidden Gem of Seafront. Now this will help you if you decide to play your Adamancipator Dragite, because it's a level 8 Synchro, but it does take up 20 points. You discard this card, you get to normal summon an Earth or Water during your main phase this turn, in addition to your normal summon or set. If you control an Earth and Water monster while this card is in the grave, you get to special summon it, but you banish it when it leaves the field. So it's just kind of a nice discard to get an additional normal summon, which in Genesys could actually be quite nice as a slow one, and this doesn't take any points. So once you've kind of done that, now you've got to fill in the gaps. So when you're filling in the gaps, I am definitely considering playing another Omega Plus. That's for sure. I don't think I need to play any more inductions. I'm tempted to play a second Flux. Now, I've already done the research on this one. I already know what points I want to start allocating. So usually what we'll do here is just looking at this now. So I really want to play Gallant Granite. And the reason I want to play this is that I can make some rank 4s very easily. I can search out my Adamancipator as an extender. I can search out Nibiru as a deflector if I need to. I can search out another rock. I can search out Block Dragon, you name it. So I kind of need to eat 33 points on the Gallant Granite. I kind of also, just because it's a Forbidden Limited list, like I'm not going to be able to play Block Dragon in any other capacity as it currently stands, I kind of want to play Block Dragon. So that's another 33 points. So straight away, if I play these two cards, there's not enough points left to play Natura Beast. And when Natura Beast taking up 50 points, yes, of course, it is technically like an auto-win card in some scenarios, but in a Genesys event, unless you're expecting your local environment to be absolutely flooded with Radiance, which if you are, then you'd sacrifice one of these to fit your Natura Beast in, which I think is probably well worth it, then you can afford to not play the Natura Beast. So I'd probably happy to kind of side that out. The Daguerres, I'm not completely set on. I don't think I need its point allocation. And then the Kokimiru Guardian, like in Modern, this card's really, really good. Now, my list that I've put together, my point allocations are 33 on Block Dragon, 3 on a single Kokimiru Guardian, 6 on a Nibiru, a single copy that I can search, 33 on the Gallant Granite, 1 on a Dagusto Emerald to get me recycling some materials later on down the line, and then 20 points on an Adamancipator Dragite. So I've kind of lent myself into synchro plays a little bit more than usual, and because I'm not playing the Natura Beast, I was like, well, the 20 points for the Dragite can still give me that spell and trap negation, but if I play the Dragite, I probably want to rely on the Hidden Gem a little bit more, because then that gives me another water monster that I can get to the graveyard very easily. The other thing is that my points totals are currently 96 points, so I'm highly tempted to play 2 Kokimiru Guardians just because of how good this card is. So, yeah, that's kind of like the process of how you breaking it down. So if I break it down so far as I've done here, and I'm just going to keep it very simple. Just for simplicity, let's work with 15 cards in the extra deck. Usually your main deck would dictate your extra deck as to how much you're going to play. But yeah. Now, I'm definitely going to be playing the Imperium. I'm definitely going to be playing the Conductant Warrior at 2. Definitely going to be playing the Flux. I'm definitely going to play Gallant Granite, and I'm definitely going to play X-Tom because very basic 0 points. Why would you not? So straight away, that is 6 of your 15 cards already allocated for your extra deck. Now, because I've already mentioned, and I'm just going to quickly move to one side to get my Synchro Binder. Because I've already mentioned that I am playing the Adamancipators, I'm going to start looking at some Synchros. So you want to start looking at Synchros that are going to be quite helpful for you. Obviously, one of the first ones that jumps to mind is the Adamancipator Raptite. So I want to be playing that card. We've got Coral Dragon, which is also 0 points. So you're going to look at what levels you can make. Now, you can make 5s in some scenarios, but more times than not, because you're playing a lot of 4s, you're going to be leaning yourself into either 8s or 6s. You can sometimes lead yourself into 10s as well, because you've got a 6 with a 4, or you'll have a 8 with a 2. So you can also look at some Synchro level 10s. So when I do that, let me just find Coral Dragon. Which is why Coral Dragon can be quite useful, because Coral Dragon will give you a draw, but it also remains as a tuner on the field. So that gives you the ability... You could go Stardust Charge Warrior, but I'm pretty sure... Charge Warrior's points? Correct move? Oh no, Charge Warrior is 0 points. So you could go Charge Warrior if you wanted to. But I quite like Coral Dragon as like a way to disrupt my opponent a little bit as well. Gives me discard ability, so I'm happy to play Coral Dragon. The other 8 that I'd be considering is, and the only 8 that doesn't really cost points that is worthwhile, is the Berserk, or wherever it may be. So this section might be quite boring for some of you lot, because it's literally just me going through my Synchro Binder trying to find cards that I need, and then some of those cards might have drifted into a deck somewhere. So, which I think actually both the cards I'm looking for are in my Sword Soul deck, so I'll get them in a second. Malong is also another card. So if you're going to be playing the Ultimate Slayer, you then need to find spaces for your Ultimate Slayer target. So that's where Malong comes into play. That's where Garura comes into play. So yeah, try and remember where I put my Sword Soul deck, but I'll find that off camera. Basically, I'm looking for a Chenying. Yeah, Chenying and Draco Berserker the Tenyi. Basically just your aggressive 8s. Definitely forgot the Dragite. So the Dragite being 20 points is kind of costly. And that's one that I've still got a question mark over as to whether I want to use it or not. There are, of course, other options for it. You open up the space in your extra deck a little bit more. You can start to look at other kind of targets you can utilize. But that's kind of like the 10 of the 15. And of the remaining 5, I've got Malong and Agigator, which are the 2 targets for Ultimate Slayer for a side deck option. And then we've got the Chenying, we've got the Draco Berserker, and then we've got a Degusto Emerald just for like extensions, drawing, and recyclability. So that's kind of where the extra deck comes together, and I'll have to find the remaining pieces off camera for you. Like I said, if your environment is very heavy Radiant for Genesys, I would highly advise you playing the Naturia Beast. I don't expect my environment to be that. I expect my environment is going to be Yubel, either Exo Sisters or Archmages, which can still be quite annoying because Dimension Shifter is a little bit annoying. And then the rest will be like unknown. So kind of take and give with what you know and what information you have. And yes, Nat Beast will still be very, very good in those particular type of matchups, but it's Genesys, right? You're getting like prize wall. The reason you go and play these Genesys events is you're going to get prize wall tickets, and because I generally like the Genesys format, like I know I don't need to worry about an Ash Blossom or a Purge or an Impulse more times than not, or a Draw and Lockbird. So Mulchummy Full Loss is probably the one thing that you'd be worried about the most, and this deck can kind of play around it quite easily, so it's not that big of an issue. So yeah, I'm going for fun. I'm not really going there to be like, hey, Nat Beast on the field, try and break it. I'm actually quite happy to free up those 50 points. If I was going to a higher competitive like the Genesys Open, then I might consider Naturia Beast for this deck, but I'm quite happy to play it without it, but that's just my personal choice. You like, by all means, play Naturia Beast if you want to, but that's entirely up to you. So, the Dragite is obviously questionable. You don't have to play that, and like I said, because I'm playing the Dragite in the extra deck, I'll lean into this a little bit more. But definitely play the Adamant Plater Researcher. I want to play 2 of this. Am I up to the 40 yet? I think I'm literally just missing Nibiru. And then my main deck's complete. And then for my side deck, it's pretty standard for a Genesys side deck. So I'd be looking at Dark Ruler No Mores. Like, Magnets can kind of pick the field apart a little bit. DD Crows, pretty standard. Twin Twisters or Cosmic Cyclones. I think Twin Twisters could be quite good in this deck because there are sometimes you want to discard some of your cards. Ultimate Slayer, I'm quite happy with, and then a Kaiju. But again, if Radiants are around, then you could use Magical Eyes. Anti-Magic Arrows and Magic Deflector. So you could side those in and still they're 0 points in comparison to Naturia Beast. So you've got a lot to work with. I think it is legit just Nibiru that I'm missing for my main deck. So I'll find that off camera, add it into the deck. Like I've got commons somewhere. That's not that big of an issue. Yeah. Like I said, at the end of this video, once we've done the duels, once we've done like the highlights of the actual event, I'll give you the full profile to show you exactly what I had, what I built, what I put together. And then kind of go from there. The only one, in my opinion, that is a questionable points allocation is the Dragite. And I feel that if you wanted to play Naturia, you would take out the Block Dragon and you would take out the Gallant Granite. That would open up to 66 points. You'd take 50 of those for the Naturia Beast, which just basically swaps straight for the Gallant Granite. Your main deck would then open up to play some more interactions. So that's where you could start playing stuff like your Full Losses and everything else in between. But what I quite like about this deck is it can just be very, very aggressive. Like, it doesn't need to play a lot of hand interactions. Like, Genesys isn't going to be hand interaction city. There's a lot of times where, because the only thing you really need to worry about will be DD Crows and Skullmeisters. Maybe sometimes Ghost Bells, maybe Nibiru's and everything else like that. So as long as you respect those, and I think that's where Kokimiru Guardian comes in for this deck, that will really give it an edge. If I can find another 2 points, I might try and squeak a Kokimiru Guardian in here as well. Annoyingly, I can find 1 point with the Gustal Emerald, but the rest are a little bit tricky to kind of find. Anyway, I'm going to put this together, I'm going to tidy it up, I'm going to get the sleeves on it and everything, and then we'll do some duels. I'll show you the duels and the matchups that I play, give you my commentary on those, and then afterwards I'll come back with a review of saying, okay, well, this needed to be changed, or what I kind of wanted to approach with the deck, and kind of go from there. But I quite like the Adamantipator engine being quite a nice extension. You could, if you wanted to, play the Researcher, the level 2, and that would just give you more excavations. But the one big thing you need to remember and be cautious of the Adamanticators themselves is that you will flood the field very, very quickly with this deck. So you need to be very, very careful that you open up spaces, which is why you then need to start adapting your synchro plays and everything else in between. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will be back for the duels in a second, and then we'll kind of move through from there. So catch you in a bit. Okay, so here's round number 1. As you can see, I'm up against Cyber Dragon. They've pretty much been able to combo off, which is kind of what Genesys allows. It allows you to be quite efficient with your combos, because there's no like Ash. Very rarely will there be a Droll. There might be a Veiler, give or take. I think like the biggest thing you worry about is probably like Forbidden Chalice, which isn't going to happen until the next turn. Regardless, my opponent's been able to combo off quite nicely. They've been able to go into the, I think it's like the dark, it's not Dark End Dragon, but it's the fusion monster of Cyber End Dragon and Cyber Dark Dragon. Cyber End Dragon and Cyber Dark. I found it quite interesting that they decided to go into the Cyber Dark End Dragon, because they won the head before that. The Cyber Dark Dragon had like a nice negate on it, whereas this one is just like a fat stat boss monster. It was interesting that my opponent went first as well. They won the dice roll, decided to go first. But it's still an incredibly powerful boss monster. It's like 5k, and then it can equip to monster every turn, and it gets to attack every equip it has, it can attack that number of times. So if it has 1 equipped, it can attack once. If it has 2 equipped, it attacks twice. So at this moment in time, I'm like, looking for my extra, how the hell do I out a 5k monster? Initially, I look at Chen Ying, and I'm like, okay, cool, well, there's already quite a few cards banished because they've used Power Bond. They take a little bit of damage already. So I'm like, okay, well, if I can banish enough cards as it is, my Chen Ying, because it's only, the big Cyber End Dragon is only unaffected by activate effects. So I'm like, right, well, Chen Ying's is a continuous effect. So if there's enough banished, Chen Ying will get stronger, the Cyber End will get weaker. So you can kind of see my end field here. But what I ultimately end up doing is the Linear Magnum has an effect that targets a card, face-up monster my opponent controls, and then it gains attack equal to half that monster's current attack. So it doesn't actually affect the monster, is what it was ruled. So it basically allowed my guy to gain 2,500 on top of 27. So it goes up to a 52. So that's enough to deal with the Cyber End Dark Dragon. And now we're just kind of playing through. I think this is the big difference as well. Is like my opponent's been able to combo, I've then been able to combo, because neither of us have got like hand interactions to utilize, bar something like a Nibiru. And that's where Kokimiru Guardian comes in, because Kokimiru Guardian basically answers Nibiru. So now I've got a monster stronger than the Cyber Dark End Dragon. I've got Kokimiru Guardian and a search of another rock guaranteed, so that I can keep the Kokimiru Guardian on the field. And now it's all about just not overextending, but extending to get to the position that I need in order to finish the duel off. And ultimately it becomes like, once I can out that Cyber End Dark Dragon, which happens, I'm able to win game 1. So moving into game number 2, my opponent now decides to go second, which is kind of what I'd expect from Cyber Dragon. You can kind of see the end field that I've been able to produce though, which is the big risk of letting your opponent go first with so few interactions. So it really does come down to how many breakers you have. So I've got a Chen Ying, I've got the Magnum, which turns all monsters on the field to Earth. I've got Kokimiru Guardian as the negate, and then I've got Flux as the target in Earth return, 1 to my hand and 1 to my opponent's hand. So I'm just explaining that to my opponent. Like, Flux puts in so much work this entire tournament. I'm highly considering playing it in 2, just in Modern in general. Like, the card's really good. The only reason you don't really need to play 2 of it is because you can recycle the first back to make the second Magnum, which I think is like absolutely fine. So what I'm trying to show here now is I'm going to show how my opponent tries to kind of pick this field apart. with Cyber Dragon, it can be quite scary. I'm not too sure how many points Clockwork Knight is. I can imagine that the Clockwork Knight, like the continuous spell card, is probably quite hefty, which is why most people don't play it. Or there's no direct way to search it, so maybe you just didn't get lucky enough to see it. Because if you did, just special and down Cyber Dragon, contact fuse the entire field, and it's like, woof. Let me have a look, actually. I am generally quite curious how many points... Clockwork Knight is. It's one of them floodgates that I can understand making the 0 points. Oh, or maybe he's just playing free of it and just unfortunately enough not to see free of it. But he does see Ultimate Slayer. Now it kind of gives them a bit of an option here. Do they fear that all of their cards are becoming Earth? Do they fear the Chen Ying if a card is banished? Which at this moment in time, as you can already see, my Omega Plus is already banished, so I can't control that. Which is what I quite like about that, is having that control. But then if my opponent uses Power Bond, my Chen Ying can respond and clear everything off. But it looks like they're sending a fusion, and now it's really down to, do they want to get rid of Flux, or do they want to get rid of the Magnum that's turning everything into Earth? Of course, getting rid of the Flux is probably the most interactive right now. I can't imagine that Cyber Dragons, apart from wanting to go into Infinity, is that affected. And I'm pretty sure Infinity is actually quite a lot of points. Infinity is 20 points, so it's probably not that big of an issue, but still quite an issue that they decide to deal with Flux. So that's one way of getting rid of it. Now all I need is the Quackamiru Guardian. I'm just going to skip ahead in a second as well, just to show you how their breaking the field progresses. So I use the Quackamiru Guardian on their Cyber Dragon core. They still special them down Cyber Dragon. They've got Power Bond here that they use as well. So this is what gets them into something that is strong enough to deal with the Yugioh. Now, they're not banishing because they haven't used the Cyber Dark Chimera. So they're going to go into a 4,200 attack Cyber Dragon monster. That's enough. I think you can send 2 as well, so he gets to attack twice. So he clears 2 cards off the field. It's ultimately, like, Yugioh is definitely the one that goes. Like, there's no doubt about that. You have to get rid of the Yugioh. And yeah, it's actually a really good duel, this, to be fair. Both games were really good, because it showed what magnets can do, and it also shows what Cyber Dragons can do in a Genesys kind of format, which is quite nice. So yeah, I mean, sending 2, get to attack twice would destroy spells and traps and control, but this is one thing, is that they don't control any spells and traps. Ultimately, they end up clearing off the Yugioh, they clear off the fusion monster. I work my way back into a Gallant Granite for searching off plays. We go into the Flux. Flux can return a card. We're attacking directly. And that's how I get past the 4,200. So this was the biggest task of this duel, actually, was how to deal with high attack stat monsters with this deck. And to be fair, the magnets didn't really have that big of an issue. The Cyber Dark Dragon made it a bit awkward. I was like, I need a Kaiju to probably out this. But then, obviously, seeing Chen Ying and the Imperial made it so much easier to deal with. So start off by special down Cyber Dragon. This just starts to become a little bit of a grind, because like Cyber Dragon kind of comes into it. I don't know why I decided to... Oh, this is why this makes sense. So the Cyber Dragon went to battle phase to attack my Gallant Granite, and I was like, I don't want my Gallant Granite in the graveyard. I use Flux to return it to the extra deck, and then they special them down Cyber Dragon again. So they use up their battle phase. I recycle my Gallant Granite, and then it's cool. Just normal summon down Researcher, Excavate. If it hits, great. If it doesn't matter. Flux returns, and kind of go on from there. So beta, and then just steamroll. So this is duel number 2. This is against Christron. This is just a quick one to show you my end field that then gets hit with a Dark Rule No More. Still playing through this Dark Rule No More phase. So they ended up on a Chen Ying plus a token. What I'm trying to show is that I was able to rebuild post a Dark Rule No More. And then there was a bit of a misplay at the end of their turn. And I was able to kind of push through it. This is duel number 2, a lot quicker than duel number 1. I go into Exton Knight to try and clear the entire field. That gets met with a cluster to destroy the Exton Knight, which means I have nothing left. And ultimately, I can't do anything on this one. Now, this bit here, I make my opponent go second, which they weren't expecting in game number 3. So you can see they've opened up Kaiju, Dark Rule No More, and then they can't really combo, and that's enough for me to win that duel. Going into duel number 3, so this is my end field up against Exo Sisters. Luckily, no Dimension Shifter. They decided to go for Michaelis, which was made off of 2 spirits. I return it with Flux, and then they scoop it up because Michaelis isn't a quick effect without Exo Sisters. Duel number 2, this is where they have a very good end field. Like they've got set 4 with Betrayal face up, Carmel on the field, and Michaelis, and they activate Prison of the Super Ancient Organisms, and I just can't break it. We go into duel number 3. Duel number 3, again, I make my opponent go first. I'm under Shifter, and I just luckily get Kaiju, and I Kaiju off the Carmel, which then means they can't do anything, and then the field just kind of gets picked apart bit by bit, because they need to only control Exo Sisters to activate Returnia, which is the trap card they chose to set. And then in a simplified game state where they're top decking with like 1 or 2 cards in hand plus Betrayal, and I've got a Guardian plus Flux, that's pretty much all it needs. Duel number 4, so this is my end field up against Archmages. Again, quite like the Cristrons, they're main decking quite a lot of Go second cards. So we've got Ultimate Slayer here. So my end field is Flux, Magnum, Valkyrion, which I actually summoned, which is quite funny, and then Draco Berserker. So I get Ultimate Slayed on the Flux, and then I get Kaiju'd on the Berserker, and then I've just got like no more interruptions left. And Archmages are actually really scary in Genesys because they can set up an Omni Negate with the Dictaros, and then they can also set up... The Finmail is annoying. Like, Finmail, negating the field and then halving attack is insane. So this is duel... I think this is duel number 2. So this is me trying to build a field back up. And you can just see their end field here, which is crazy. So I make them go first. I get hit with Flying Sea, so I can't Xyz, which straight away turns off my Gallant Granite. But it means I can still go into my Synchro plays if I need to because of Analyzer. We use Analyzer's effect to try and bait out an interaction. And as you can see, their end field is Dictaros. I Kaiju'd one of their monsters, which stupidly, I Kaiju'd the Finmail, and then they used the Legato to bring it back. And I was like, well, that was just silly of me. You can see that I've tried to push through under the Flying Sea. Like, not being able to have access to Exciton Knight and access to Gallant Granite was a little bit more annoying than it should have been. But I got the Chen Ying up on the field here. And we've got rid of the Dictaros. The Dictaros floated back into the Medius. Like, what I should have done is I probably should have Kaiju'd the Dictaros. And I was so worried about the Finmail and completely forgot that Finmail, like Vegeta, I can't remember what the level 3, can just bring back the Finmail during my turn. And I was like, oh, bro. So we're using the Chen Yin here to try and control the field state a little bit more. But ultimately, it just shows you how resilient the Archmages are. And what I do under Flying Sea, basically. But we're trying to pick these apart. There's the... I think is it Assault in the graveyard that can negate an attack as well, makes it very awkward. And we're just trying to pick this field apart again. The Kaiju probably wasn't as effective as I would have loved it to be. Well, the fact that I just gave them a Kaiju, the only benefit would have been is if they had a full field of 5 and I Kaiju'd them, and then they couldn't revive the Finmail. But only that ends up in a loss for me. So sadly, lost that one. I ended up going with a record of 3-1. Really, really good event. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was nice to play Magnets. And now we're going to go back to the studio and I'll give you the full breakdown of how it all went. So back in a second. Okay, so we're back from locals and we are able to get first place with the Magnets at Genesys. It was actually, again, a really, really good event. A nice range of decks. I think there was only one deck that was 2, so there was 2 Exo Sisters in the room. Other than that, every other deck was a unique individual one. So there was Super Quants, there was, I ended up facing Crystron Adventure, Archmages. I also ended up facing Exo Sisters themselves, and then I think I started the duel off, or the day off, I'm just trying to remember exactly what I was. Oh, Cyber Dragon was the other one that I faced. There was Crystal Beasts. I'm trying to remember. The Black Wings was there. I can't remember all the others off the top of my head, but you would have seen the duels of what I faced. It was actually really, really good. Like, there was a couple of times where I did misplay, like, absolute mental. So there are going to be, changes to the deck. I'm also going to talk you through some big changes to the deck as well, because there's a lot of cards that I felt that required points that we didn't use, and then there's also a lot of cards that I feel could be better. So what we'll do is I'll lay out the list like I've done before, just to talk you through. I'll open up the packs at the end, and then kind of work it from there. So for like the Magnet cards themselves, there we go. I went with this lineup of the Magnets. The only thing of this lineup that I would change, the only thing of this lineup that I would change is I'll probably play a second Sigma. I was absolutely happy with everything else. Like, this card is crazy in Genesys. The other thing, as like a precursor of what I did mess up, or like just didn't do right, is I think the extra deck. I feel like there was times where I was like, oh, I could make a rank 7 here. And then there were also times where I was like, oh, I can make a Synchro 5 and a Synchro 7. So there's a lot of cards. I'll talk you through the point cards later on that I feel that you could definitely cut 100% and then adapt from there. But like this lineup I'm absolutely fine with. I actually summoned Valkyrion, and I'll probably show that in the highlights of the duel as well, off of the back of the Delta. The Berserkion I never ever summoned, but the idea is you just use these as fodders to get you into your Imperium, which, if I'm being honest, if in the duel, if I had the option to go for Imperium or Flux, I was always going to go for Flux. Like, Flux was one of the MVPs of this entire day. I'm highly tempted to play this at 2. But I think the one time that I made the Imperium, my opponent was main decking Dark Rule no more and just went Dark Rule on it. Okay. So the Magnet ones I was quite happy with. If you don't want to play Imperium, you can actually afford to cut these 3 cards here. And even the Delta, to be honest. But I was quite happy with them. Like, I played it as a bit of fun, and the deck well performed the way that I wanted it to. Like, there was a couple of bits I was still questioning with the Genesys build of this deck, but it worked out so well. It is with Adamanticators, but I think that's like the best hybrid you could do. And as I mentioned, the only change I'd probably consider is maybe playing a second Sigma, just because then I don't always need to rely on recycling this. I never summoned Illusion, but there are times where you could very easily do so. So that was it for the Magnets. For the other rock support, I went with 3 Kokimiru Supplier and 2 Guardian. Guardian, again, was another MVP. This card in Genesys is nuts. So I would find, there's cards I'm going to cut that will be quite hefty points, that will open up the door to a lot of things. When I do that, I'd be putting Guardian up to 3. Like, hitting this off of an Adamanticator was beyond busted. Speaking of the Adamanticators, I maxed out on Researcher, Analyzer, and I feel that I should definitely be playing the other level 2. I call it Seeker, I think it is. I would play 1 copy of that. So that's something else that I would change. That's 0 points. I also played the Dragite to draw a card, but never like summoned it. Like, the idea is you excavate it off of these, summon it, and draw a card. I always found myself siding this card out, so this card could very easily become the the Seeker. I think it is like the level 2, so very easily change that out. The first big change of the deck, in my opinion, is Blot Dragon. I would get rid of this. So this is 33 points. It was nice to utilize it, but the idea is the only way you can trigger it is if you either use it as fusion material or you destroy it with your Omega Plus, and then you destroy it, you send it, you search it. Now, it's great to do the searching because I can search out like an Analyzer plus any of the level 4s. Or I could then go for your Researcher, and then I'm trying to think if I ever did it with the betas, and it was beta and then this one. So I could go for this, but honestly, at 33 points, I don't think it's worth it. I understand that it was so incredibly busted because you could link it off. It was just so easy to get it to the graveyard. At 33 points, I would sacrifice all 33 points of this, take them back, put the 3rd Guardian in, and then I've got 30 points to play with. And with those remaining 30 points, I'd probably use 20 of those for an FA Dawn Dragster into the extra deck, and kind of open it up from there. So Blot Dragon, I could definitely see, in my opinion, can go, give you back some of those points. I was then on 3 of the Hidden Gem of the Seafront. This actually worked out really nicely, because what this allowed me to do is this allowed me to discard it and then normal summon a Kokimiru Guardian that I got later on in my turn if I needed to. And like I said, Kokimiru Guardian just answered Nibiru. Like, so many times people will open up Nibiru, and with Magnets, it's so versatile because it can play through so much, and that's what a lot of people were surprised by. Like, in one of the duels as well, the Exorcist one, I'll show you how I played. Well, I mean, this is recording. I'm trying to get this right. I'm recording this after obviously showing you the highlights. But in the highlights, you would have seen that I played through a Dimension Shifter. Like, I thought Dimension Shifter would cause this deck a big issue, but it causes it some issues, but like the deck can just go and go and go and go. And especially when you've got cards like Bonding that let you bring like Fuse using your Banished, it was insane. 3 Duo Trion, 1 Nibiru. I was quite happy with the 1 Nibiru. I saw it a couple of times, but honestly, I could cut it for the 6 points if I really... Like, if I was trying to push this deck to be at its highest level and I want to play a Notoria Beast, I could afford to cut the Nibiru. I was half tempted before I went into the tournament today to make this like a go second just breaker because it was so aggressive. Like, Analyzer, excavates, leads you into a level 8 synchro or a rank 4 was really, really good, and put in a lot of work. And then for the spells, 3 bonding, 1 induction, like, absolutely fine with these, no issues whatsoever. And these serve the double purpose because obviously they're waters. It was really good for Dragite. But Dragite is another card that I would consider, like, you could arguably consider getting rid of. For the extra fusions, 1 Imperium, 1 Flux, and 2 of the Magnum. 2, absolutely fine, happy with this one. Flux, highly, like I said, this put in so much work. Like, a lot of people undervalued the effect to return an Earth to the hand and then return one of your opponent's cards to the hand. Again, puts in so much work. So I'd actually highly consider playing this at 2. For the XEs that you would actually summon, I summoned Gallant Granite the most at 33 points. I don't mind that. Like, I think it's actually really important because it gets you into Researcher to extend your plays. It can also get you into Nibiru if you want to be defensive. It could search out Block Dragon if you want to push that a little bit further forward as well. And it can search you out an additional Magnet if you want to use the Magnum's effect to send the level 8 from deck to grave and then get you additional normal summon. So Gallant Granite is probably one of the cards that requires points that I would say is an absolute must-have in this deck. I thought it put in a lot of work. Dagustro Emerald, never made it. 1 point, you could cut it if you want to, keep it, do whatever you need to. Exton Knight was nice to have as an option. There was a couple of times where I was tempted to play the Exton Knight, and honestly never did, but I quite like having it in here as an option. Then for the Synchros that I actually summoned, I summoned all of my Synchros, but Coral Dragon as the level 6 that would give you that discard and the draw and still be a tuner to help you work into your level 10 being your Chen Ying. What makes Chen Ying so good and how you can control it is if you bring back your Omega Plus with its own effect and you leave it on the field as a disruption. When your opponent activates a card effect, you chain it, monster effect on the field, you chain this, it gets banished, it flips one of your opponent's monsters face down, and then you can trigger your own Chen Ying. So you're well within control of how you trigger your Chen Ying. So I was actually quite happy with that. Dragite, I made it once, and then I'm pretty sure I got hit with Ultimate Slayer and Kaiju. So it never actually did what it needed to do. But if you build this as a go second deck, like, this would be amazing because you go into this, use the effect, excavate 5, and then try to bounce your opponent's cards. Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, made it once. I'm, again, quite happy with this. Raptite, I made this. This is if you've got Analyzer on the field and you're trying to work into a 10. But also if you've got Researcher on the field, you can work into an 8. This is kind of where I messed the maths up a little bit, or just didn't prep it as well as I could do, is I was only really looking at Researcher plus any of the 4s, and then I was looking at Analyzer plus any of 4s. So every time where I had Beta on the field, of course this would be your Naturia Beast. I don't think, and someone might be able to correct me in the comments down below, but like, I don't think there was any other level 5 synchro that I feel is worth playing. Like, I would need to have something that I'm like, if it's got points, it has to be worth those points, like Naturia Beast. But I would be trying to aim towards the Naturia Beast for those points. And I can't think of any 5 that is not worth points that is worth playing. And then, when you flip that around, your Researcher plus your Beta, Analyzer plus your Beta, was like screaming out to be a 7 all day long. So I was like, okay, the best 7 I can think of is the FA Dawn Dragster. The final 3 cards in the extra deck was a Malong, a Fossil Warrior, and an Aggregator. The Fossil Warrior is just the aggressive option for your Ultimate Slayer. It can be a Garura if you want to, but it's also a rock, which is quite funny, so you can recycle this sometimes. So I was quite happy to play all 3 of these. Never used them, but quite happy to do so. For the side deck, pretty straightforward on this one. 3 Gamma Seals, 3 Dark Rulers, Crows, Twin Twisters, and then Ultimate Slayers. Like, I don't think much more needs to be said about these. They're pretty staple for like side deck or main decks. If I was going to go for an aggressive go second, I'd probably main deck these and then main deck 3 Kaijus. But honestly, like, I think I saw Twin Twisters, Crows, and Gamma Seals over everything else. But I was quite happy with these. Like, they did what they needed to do. So that's it for like the entire list, to give you a bit of a breakdown. Like I said, the biggest changes that I'd be considering is straight away, if I wanted to play Naturia Beast, the easiest ones to go would be, right, cool, get rid of Block Dragon, get rid of Dragite, and that's 53 points left. So that gives you your 3 points you're going to need for your Guardian, and then your 50 points you're going to need for Naturia Beast. Straight swap, there you go, that for Guardian, that for Naturia Beast. Absolutely fine. like I said, when I was going to locals, I'm not going to play Notorio Beast because I can imagine how you can just sit on a Notorio Beast and you'll win it all just on Notorio Beast. At a higher end competitive environment, Notorio Beast definitely goes in. At a locals environment, I was like, you know what, I want to be a bit more experimental. What can I play with? So the argument on that one, or like the thought process behind that one would be, I can now sacrifice the Block Dragon, gives me 33 points back. 3 points goes for the third Guardian. I'm absolutely fine with that one. And then I would find something in the extra deck that I wasn't too happy with. Like I could very easily get rid of the Dagusto Emerald, and that becomes the FA Dawn Dragster. Which, in my opinion, when you're doing that, you're then playing one of the better 8s that you can play that don't cost a huge amount of points, and an Aggressor in the Draco Berserker to Tenyi. You'd then play probably the best level 7 that you can play, which is the alternative to Dragite. You'd then be playing Raptite as a level 6, which I think is absolutely fine. Non-Tuner and then Tuner, so you're covering both of those. And then you've got probably the best level 10 that you can play without costing you any points in the form of the Chengying. So I'd be quite happy with that. And they're basically the bottom line changes that I would make if you're looking to take it to a bigger environment. So these are the OTS packs I got for first place on this one. There was only 11 duelists at this, but again, it was an improvement from the last OTS as well, which is kind of cool. So we start off with Super Doom King, Emergency Teleport, and the Monarch's Master Plan, which I don't mind. I actually need this one. Like for commons, I want to be seeing Sales Ban. For super rares, I think I need 2 more Monarch's Master Plan, so that'd be really cool. And then for ultimate rares, I mean, there's nothing that I really need, but like a Jokel would be kind of cool, I guess. Megalith, Burning Bamboo Sword, Mitsurugi no Mikoto Saji. Again, not a bad card to have, especially with the legendary modern decks coming out soon as well. Shurag is actually quite a nice common reprint on this one. Original Bamboo Sword and Gagaga Head. That was such a random super, like an upgrade in here, but it definitely needed it. And our final pack is Burning Bamboo Sword, Megalith, and Trobrier Fractal. Actually, Fractal's quite a good one as well. Yeah, I mean, like these are the last of the OTS 29s that our store had. So I think we're now moving on to OTS 30, which is the last OTS pack. So that's pretty much it. So far, I think we're on episode 6 now, so I think we'll be moving on to episode 7 of the local experience. So I'm hoping you're enjoying these. Next weekend is also Genesys, so I'm going to look at another deck to play. I'm quite liking these Genesys events because I'm trying different decks out as we go. First week was Exo Sisters, second week is of course Magnets. Third week I haven't decided yet. I'll either go, I don't really kind of feel that I need to go back to Exo Sisters. I could update the Magnets, that'd be kind of cool to do. And then there's just a couple of others that I want to trial out and test. Like I want to try Heckhand Chimera. I want to give them a run, see how they do in Genesys, or just pure Heckhand would be kind of cool. Or pure Illusions, I guess. So yeah, it's just more so a bit about experimenting and finding out what build's kind of really working. So I hope you're enjoying this. I'm hoping you're going to your Genesys events as well. So for those of you unaware of what the Genesys kind of incentive is right now, is based on attendance. So if your local environment is doing this, more so it's only UK based, sadly, but the way that it kind of works is if you attend your Genesys event, you play 4 rounds of Genesys. For each round you play, you get given 1 additional ticket to use at the prize wall at UK Nationals. So for those of you unfamiliar with the prize wall basically is a prize wall that has OTS mats, it has regional mats, it has deck boxes, OTS packs, it has plushies. That's where you can get the Time Wizard plushie for anyone that's kind of curious. There's also giant cards as well. But basically the idea is they're going to do 2 schemes. They're doing one which is Genesys, and you can go to 4 Genesys events, get 4 tickets for each, which means you'll end up finishing with 16 tickets already in the bank for when you turn up at Nationals. And then they're going to do that again for Advanced. And the best thing about it is you get a ticket just for attendance. So it's a ticket for every round that you attend. You can get a maximum of 32 in each of the seasons, so you can't go and sweat every single different Genesys event around and walk up to Nationals day 1 with like 100 tickets and just get the giant card straight away. But the idea is it's quite a nice incentive. You'll get additional OTS packs as well, which is a very nice benefit. And yeah, it's kind of, it's just an added bonus. I've really been enjoying Genesys. I know a lot of people at locals have been enjoying it as well, because it lets you think a little bit differently. It also means that you don't need to, like, I think one of the best things I could say, or I said, was it lets you play decks that don't instantly die to Ash. So there'll be a lot of decks like, probably less so Magnets, but like Exosisters, for example. If they Ash your Martha, you're usually in such a negative position. It really does suck. With Cristrons as well, like Adventure Cristrons, that would really struggle against Droll and Lockbird, which isn't a thing. So you don't need to worry about Droll, you don't need to worry about Ash. Maybe you worry about a Fualos, but then you can still adapt and play for it. Like, it's not a free run, you still got to work for it. But it just lets you play more fun decks. Like I said, of the 11 decks that were at the event, and I'm trying to get, I want to get like a pen and paper. Don't know if I have any paper near me, to try and see if I can remember all 11 off the top of my head, and I don't think I'll be able to. But the idea is, there was 10 different decks at this event. Is this a bit of blank paper? There you go, a bit of blank paper. Now, let me see if I can remember these off the top of my head. So, it was Exosisters, was ×2. There was Magnets. There was Crystron. Archmage. Blackwing. Crystal Beast. I'm going to forget someone. Cyber Dragon. Racking my brain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8. So I'm missing 2. Oh, Yugioh. Oh, I'm missing the last one. Trying to remember what it was. It's always difficult as well when you don't face them, or if I didn't face them. Have I got Archmages? So I've got Archmages. Got the Exosisters. Got the Cristrons. Got the Cyber Dragons. Oh, Quantums. Super Quants. There you go. So 11 different, 10 different decks, 11 different players. And yeah, I'm just finding it really fun right now. Not that Modern's bad either. Like, I really like Modern. Modern, I got to play Dark Lords. I kind of want to try out the Dark Lord branded version that I heard was going around for Genesys. I want to see how that works. But yeah, I think it's just been quite enjoyable. So we've got 2 more Genesys events coming up as well, so I'll do those and feature those on top of that. And then get back to Modern, leading up to the UK Open, which will be really cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.